Yeah, hi. So today we are going to discuss about introduction to operating system. So here operating system, operating STM. So what is operating system? So operating system is the main component of the software. Without operating system, there is no application, no database, no business at all. So operating system is the main component we are going to install in any of the server. Without operating system, we can't install the database. Without database, no application. Without application, no business. So that means operating system is the main component in IT. So then coming to what are the different operating systems we have? What are the different operating systems you have? So we have the Windows operating system and the Unix operating system, as you already know. So Windows, you heard like Windows operating system every time you are managing. Uh, uh, that is also sometimes you can see the Linux operating system also. In Windows operating system and Unix operating system, there is a two versions are there. One is the desktop version, and the second one is the server version. Yeah, version. So there is a difference between server version and the desktop version. That means just like in your Windows environment, we have the Windows XP, Windows Professional, and Windows 2010. Now, latestly, like 2012, 11 also came, right? These are all like desktop editions, like 2010, like that, so, 11, like this. So these are all the Windows operating, I mean, like desktop operating systems. So in the same way, server operating systems like 2019, like some server operating systems also used there. There is a Windows operating system and Unix operating system. In both the cases, we have desktop edition, we have server edition. For example, of Unix, for example, of Windows, if you go Windows environment, you have the desktop as well as servers. Same way, if you go for the Unix environment, if you go to the Unix environment, there is a same desktop as well as desktop edition as well as server edition. So that means like before going to the desktop and server means we need to understand what is desktop, what is server. Hi Santosh. So yeah, Santosh, is this first session for you? So here we need to understand the desktop as well as server. So what is desktop? What is server? So desktop and server means if you buy a server on computer, this computer itself is not the server or desktop. So whatever the operating system you install on this server, that define whether it is server or desktop. If you install a server operating system, then it become as a server. If you install a desktop operating system, then it become as a desktop. That means like if you buy a laptop and you installed the 2010 so that it is desktop. If you install the same laptop with 2019, the system become as a server. That means the system, the computer is not decided by itself, it is server or desktop. Only the operating system, whatever operating system you are installing, that operating system will define whether it is server or desktop. So that is the most important thing we need to understand. Here the desktop operating system and the server operating system you understand, right? So now in case of desktop operating system, what is that exactly it does? In case of server operating system, what it does? In case of desktop operating system, in this system you can't install the some services. You can't manage the services. This is just personal use they develop the software. But whereas the server, it is created, this server is created to install the databases or application, some other components like So the some software you are installing like database application and all these components you are installing, that's why it become as a server software. So now you are very clear about what is operating system. Anyone any confusion about what is operating system? What are the different operating systems you have? In both Windows and Unix, we have two types of operating systems like desktop operating system and server operating system. In case what desktop operating system will do, it is only personal use like printer or MS Office or browsing kind of stuff. You can't install the databases on that. You can't install the applications on that. You can't install some big services, and can't able to manage the services in the desktop version of the operating system. Okay. In Unix also, like MacBook and all, these are like the MacBook is the Unix version of the Unix player. Okay. In Unix environment, there is a flavors, there is a operating systems Linux we have, and we have AIX we have, and we have HP Unix. So HP Unix we have. So we have Solaris. So these many operating systems we have. How these many switch to UX. So these are the operating systems are there server version. Okay. So why these many operating systems are there? In this also we have like 2016, 2012, 2012, 2000, 2016, like 2019, different versions of the Windows Server operating systems are there. So, but we don't care about Windows because we are not working on Windows. So we are working on only Unix operating systems. In Unix operating systems, we have Mac for desktop, and server version we have Linux, AIX, HP, and Solaris. So because of the Unix is the why these many companies in Unix because of Unix is the open source. Because of open source, so many companies have created their own operating system and they created their name. So that is the Unix operating systems. Now you are very clear about what is operating, what are the different on Windows and the Unix. And in Unix environment, so we are not talking about Windows operating system, we are talking about Unix operating system. In Unix operating systems also if you go to the desktop versions in Windows, there is a 90% of the desktops are Windows. Here only 10% of the desktops are Unix. But we are not managing these desktops. We are managing the server operating systems. We are managing the server operating systems. Whereas the server operating systems in Windows environment, there is a lot of server environment. Only the 20% of the servers are Windows, and the rest of 80% of the servers are 80% of the servers are Unix operating system. Why 80% of so many servers are Unix? We need to understand why so many Unix.
Hi, KV.
Yes,
Sorry to interrupt you.
yeah,
Please increase the font size.
yeah.
Huh, Thank you.
Mhm. You got it, right? So now coming to we are understanding about Unix. So we are understanding about Unix environment. So what is Unix? Like most of the global servers, like if you go to the desktop, every day we are accessing desktop. So you are feeling like desktops are more. No, only desktops are more, but the actual business is running on top of the Unix. Actual business is running on top of the Unix. Most of the companies use the Unix only for their purpose. So that is the one more important. Now coming to if you go to the now coming to uh, Unix environment. So in Unix environment, so what are the different flavors of Unix? In Unix environment, What is Unix exactly? What is Unix exactly? So Unix is the operating system, same as the Windows operating system. So what it does, it is same as it is Windows. What Windows is doing, Unix also do the same thing. But the difference is Windows is GUI, Unix is command line. Only the difference is GUI and command line. So other than that, the rest of all operations are same. Okay. I'm going to upload this to our YouTube channel. The channel name is KVR Tech Labs. Just you can note it down and you can just subscribe or you can watch there. Okay. So now coming to what is Unix operating system. Before going to Unix operating system, why we go for Unix operating system? Why we go for Unix operating system? So even we have the Windows operating system, right? So we have Windows, it is easy to operate, mouse and everything, right? Why we go for Unix operating system? Anyone, any idea why we go for Unix operating system? So because of everyone know one option, that is it is more secure. It is more secure. So it is more secure. That's why people are looking for this. And also it can drive more number of users. It can drive more number of processes, more number of operations, and it is more stable. You no need to reboot anytime. So, but whereas Windows Server, the recommended by Microsoft itself, every 45 days we should reboot. Otherwise, system performance is going down. But Unix is 10 years also to run right. So that is the reason people are always use the Unix is a Unix as a server environment. I hope everyone understand why we go for Unix environment. So in Unix environment, different flavors of Unix is different flavors of Unix operating system. So of Unix. So different flavors of Unix means Unix is the main core product developed by Linux Rich long time back. After that, there is a lot of companies they created their own operating system. Linux is Red Hat, developed by the Red Hat, and Solar AIX is developed by the IB. Like different vendors. Why these companies are developed by why this operating system is developed by different companies? Because of it is the open source. That means the source code is available for you. Now you can modify the source code so that you can able to see this information. That is the one more important. AX and HP, Unix, HP, UX. So they created name like that. So HP, Linux is company from HP. So like Oracle or ACL, Oracle, initially it was with Sun Microsystem. Now it is with Oracle, that is the Solar. So these many operating systems are created by Unix. So from the Unix, because of the open source, you can also develop one operating system and you can put your name. So that way we can create the operating system. Sometimes people are saying like, okay, I'm working on Unix. That means, first of all, there is no Unix environment in the market. There is no Unix in the market. Then what you are working? You may be working on any one of these flavors. You be working on any one of these flavors. Without this Unix, there is no IT. People are thinking like Unix is not Linux and these are not much popular in the market. Without this, there is no computer at all. If you go to the company point of view, the server point of view, Alexa stop. Alexa stop. So, in company point of view, if you go to the company, so every server is Unix. Every server is Unix operating system. So that is the most important. So many millions of jobs are there. There is no worry about jobs. So you just need to spend time. That's all. So that is under little bit time. And also there is no programming required. It is easy job. So I will explain about one by one. Okay. Now coming to Unix, you understand, flavors you understand. So in this lot of flavors are there. why we go for Linux. You guys are understanding where we are now, how we are approaching and that. Syed, Syed, are you able to follow me? Syed and yeah. So then VAS VIS, what you know who is this is? Any questions here, anyone? So why we go for Unix? So why we go for Linux? Why you go for Unix? You understand. Why you go for what are the flavors of Unix? You understand. Why we go for Linux? So why we go for Linux means like it is free. We no need to pay anything, and also it will support for any hardware. So that means if you want to buy the AIX, and you need to buy AIX software. You need to buy the AIX software, and you need to buy the HP software. I mean, whatever you buy, so you need to buy everything from the same company. If you buy the AIX software and you installed in one server, that server belongs to IBM, that hardware keyboard belongs to IBM, and everything support belongs to IBM, and everything should depends on IBM. So companies don't like this, because one day the keyboard is faulty, one day mouse is faulty, one RAM is faulty, any hardware is faulty. Every time we need to depend on that. So that's why the same way HP and Solar is also. But whereas the Linux is not like that. You can buy the any of the computer, any of the hardware, and you can install this. That is the one more advantage. And also, and also, it will support the virtualization. It will support the virtualization. So that is the one of the good feature. VI supports VARTULATION virtualization. Okay, so it supports the virtualization. That means you can make it virtualization of these servers. So you can make it virtualization of these servers. So whereas the AIX, there is no support for virtualization. That means you can't create a VM server using AEX HP and but whereas the Linux server you can create a virtual server, so that AWS cloud servers are virtual servers, are also VMware servers are virtual servers, Google Cloud and any cloud servers also virtual servers. But you can't see virtual, I mean AEX in cloud, you can't see HP in cloud, you can't see Solaris in cloud. So because these people are not give the authorization to virtualize the product, so that these companies are not able to do that. But whereas the Linux, it is possible to do virtualization because of one of the feature. So like a cloud can't, we can do cloud servers. We can install INSTL, install Linux here cloud. There you go, you will cloud service. So these are the many advantages of the cloud, many advantages of the Unix. I mean Linux. That's why most of the products, like almost Linux is, we can say almost like Linux is 80% of the servers are Linux only. Only 10% of the, this may be 5%, this may be 10%, this may be 10%, the rest of it may be 5%, it may be 5%, this may be 5%. That's all. So like that, there is a servers are mic. So I hope everyone understanding what's going on with the Unix, what's going on with Linux, what is Unix, Linux, and all operating systems we understand. So if anyone any questions here, go ahead about Unix. After Unix, why we go for Linux? How is the market for Linux, AX, and Solaris and HP? That's the reason we are going for the Unix operating system. So why it is more secure? The why Unix is more secure? Because of why it is more secure? because of the architecture. If you go to the architecture of the Windows, so the Windows hardware is there, hardware is there, then hardware is there, then there is a kernel, there is a user. That means user is directly interacting with the kernel so that there is a chance to disrupt the kernel. That is the kind of virus. So virus attack is there in Windows, whereas the Unix environment, there is no virus. So because of hardware, along with hardware, there is a user hardware and the kernel, and there is a shell. On top of the shell, the user is working. That means the user will not enter into the kernel directly until shell is there. So that means the shell will prevent the unauthorized accesses, unauthorized code, any virus related, all the stuff is not allowing towards the kernel. That's why this is always more stable. You never find the viruses in Unix environment. So that is the reason people are going to no virus. So that means more secure. You understand why more secure. You understand no virus and support SUPP to support more number of more number of users and processes, PROC, ES processes, applications. So, and also no need to reboot anytime, no need to reboot or reboot anytime like Windows. So in Windows system, you need to reboot every 45 days. So that is the advantage of the operating system and Unix. Now you are very clear about the difference between Unix and Linux. Unix is the core product, but Linux is by taking this core product, Linux is developed by Red Hat. Why they are able to do? Why they are able to do? Because of open source. Why they are able to do? Open, let's see, open source. So that is the reason these people can able to create the operating systems. So I hope everyone understand the difference. So before proceeding, why we go for Linux? Why we go for Linux? You understand, right? Why we go for so many Linuxes are there. Many Linuxes are there. Many Linux Linuxes are there. Linux. So like Red Hat Linux, Red Hat Linux. So many companies have created SUSE, SUSE Linux, and C and CentOS, and Fedora. You may see all these FEDU, Fedora, and some other Linuxes. So many Linuxes are there. So many Linuxes are there. Why we go for Red Hat Linux? Why we go for Red Hat Linux? Even these many Linuxes are there. Why we go for Red Hat Linux? Any clue? Anyone? Everyone able to follow me? Everyone able to see my screen? Everyone able to hear me? Please share your email ID so that we will share this recording. Otherwise, you can go to our YouTube channel. You can find out our channel name is just you can go to Google, just search for KVR Tech Labs. So you can find this video. Okay. So now coming to why we go for Red Hat Linux. So Red Hat Linux is completely why we go for means it is there in the market from long time. Okay, they have their own patching. They have their own certifications, and they are there in the market for long time. Because of that, they implemented so many services along with so many applications and along with the patches, and they have their own certificate. certificate. They have their own certificate and from long time and it is old operating system from long time and they have they are implementing PAT6, they are updating patching and they are frequently updates, new updates always, they are sending updates they are sending updates always. So like many advantages are there. So that's why uh, so that is the reason Linux is very much popular. So anyone, any questions here? Santosh, can you hear me? So now coming to so we are going to discuss about uh, why we go for Linux to understand. What are the versions of the Linux? What are the we are versions of Linux? Okay. What are the versions of Linux we have? So the versions of the Linux is we have the versions like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Recently there is a 8. These many versions are there. So what are the versions are currently running? What are the versions are currently running? Out of that, these are all outdated ones. These are all versions are outdated one. So the 1, 2, 3, 4. Last 2 months back, 5 also they stopped the support, and we have only so in market most of the servers are 6 and 7, and the 8 is recently started, and people are testing. So now you are very clear about what are versions we have. So what version we are discussing? What version? What we say one version? We study HTU. So we are studying 7 under 8. The reason is most market is with 7 and the new servers are in 8. That's why you need to okay. That's why we are going for 7 and 8. So before proceeding, any questions here about uh, uh, versions and all what versions we are studying in that, what operating system we are studying. So these are all are the things about only introduction to operating system, that is Unix system. So then once you create like we need to tomorrow I will explain like how to create our own free lab. So you can do a number of practices with the free server and you can do practice. Otherwise, I'm uploading the video on this. You can just to go through that and you can create your own free server. Okay, so that is the second option. Otherwise, I will explain how to create our own server in cloud for our practice purpose so that we can start our practice. Okay, so that is the one more important. So now coming to any questions here about operating system and this thing. So if you go to the any of the Unix operating system, so that Unix operating system is always in black screen. Okay, so this in this screen only we need to work on only a black screen. So like that, you need to provide the user and password, and you can start working. So that means it is not like there is no mouse is not working, nothing. Only command line. So the drawback of the Unix operating system is the drawback. It is not the drawback, it is the way security. Okay. So only the drawback of the it is not user it, it is not user friendly, it is always user one. So that is the one more important we need to understand. So before proceeding, any questions here, anyone? So that is the one thing. So then coming to tomorrow, we will start practice like actual lab we will create and we will start create.